Good morning, good morning. My name's John Wright, and it is 3:10 of 24. You know what? I woke up this morning, I see a blue car. I see a blue Dodge Polara. I see a 1968 Dodge Blue Polara. And it's in front of my house, not here. I'm thinking right there on Division Street in Morton, Washington, right there where Jim Kaiser lives today. Right there, right there, I could put myself right there in that driveway again, where I was held in a cop car when my friend was being murdered. When I was watching them prosecute the scene, I see the cameras and the lights flashing in my bedroom right there. I'm at the end of the driveway. I'm right there. You know, prior prior to them coming there and shooting the scene here, Terry Shortridge gets murdered right in front of me on that bed that's in my bedroom upstairs in that house. Terry Shortridge has just kicked David Clynn's ass this weekend, Friday. It's Monday now. We've been to the duck ponds today. We've been to the duck ponds. Jim took me and Terry down to the duck ponds. Probably sizing it up and feeling it out. Our last fishing trip. Something like that. Our last trip, and one of us is gonna get murdered. It's building up to it on that Monday, on that faithful Monday in 1975. 10/27, 1975 was a Monday. I remember it well. And anyway, right there outside of that house, prior to this murder scene and stuff, there was a car that was sitting there. There was a car sitting there in that yard, and it was that blue Dodge Polara. And my brother Jerry had the back end of it jacked up on a jack, high jacked up. Stan Hoyt wrote slasher on the front fender by the antenna to announce it to everybody. The slasher was here, George. This was his house. My brother Jerry had my dad's car jacked up right there. This is what they did that. And he's down there and they're acting out, and there's a group of people there, group of kids there. Jerry's Wright's the leader of them, right there in our yard. Jerry Wright takes a bowling pin and he throws it through my dad's back window of that blue Dodge Polara that my dad owes thousands of dollars from it to a car company in California. And I'm sitting here watching this. I've also sat there and watched them tear up the vehicles up over there at Mossy Rock behind the bowling alley. My dad's vehicles and my mother's, like, they just didn't give a fuck. They hated them. I mean, that's what it looked like to me. And now I look at that car, and about the time by the time Jerry threw that bowling pin, here comes my dad peeling around the neighborhood the opposite direction as you'd usually come in, like he was sneaking around to catch us. And I looked across the Whitlow's yard over there on Division Street where it comes up over there. Oh shit, boy, I see Dad. Everybody runs. Maybe Dad didn't see a thing. Maybe Dad wouldn't stop in. But I goddamn tell you, these guys, they ran away from. They didn't want to get caught touching that guy's car. That's for darn sure. And then I caught my dad down there not too long after that incident. My dad's out there cutting that car in half. I hear him out there, bam, 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 bam. What the hell's going on outside? I look out, there's my dad out there. He's got a chisel and he's cutting right off the top of the car, going across it. And he's working it from the center to the driver's side, right between the front seat and the back seat. He's right there. He's cutting that goddamn car in half with the chisel, and I'm looking out the window and I'm thinking, oh my God, what the fuck is goddamn Dad doing this time? I'm not cussing like that. I'm cussing like that now. there's my nephew. He's starting up his truck. So now Jerry goes, he busts that window. They've done this here. My dad's cutting that car a half. I go out there. I say, what are you doing? You know, I mean, this car's gonna get me in trouble. I gotta get rid of this car. You know, my dad's telling me, and he's goddamn cutting it in half. You know, my dad got that car cut in half, and he got that prepared to go. And you know, he was supposed to be at the bowling alley usually during this time, but he showed up at the house to cut this thing in half by hand. You know, I said to him, I said, Dad, why don't we just call up the wrecker, you know, the car wrecker place in Mineral Washington, in Mineral, Swayze will come and get it. It can't go to the wrecking yard because there's money owed on it. You know, Dad's telling me in desperation. Okay, Dad's cutting it in half. That's all I'm gonna have. I'm gonna goddamn cut this thing in half. Is his plan. So he cuts that in half, and here pretty soon, here comes the orange pickup, and there goes my nephew right there. Good morning to him. Sounds like he has a broken cap on it, distributor cap. He's been having a little troubles with it, I think. Could be the coil pack, if it had a coil pack. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that vehicle. But anyway, something's going on with it. So anyway, my dad's cut this car in half, and here pretty soon, here comes my sister. I'm sure it was my sister Bonnie with that orange pickup truck of Rich Baker's, Rich and Bonnie's. And they took that. We hauled that car out there to the dump 5 miles outside of Morton, threw it off one piece. When we went back, we got the other piece. We took it back up there. We threw it off too. And we must have been able to man it up in there because I goddamn know that car was in there. And I know I broke my arm taking that car out of the last part of that car out of that back of that pickup truck. That Dodge Polara went right to the dump in the back of that pickup truck in 2 pieces. You know, prior to it being cut in half, though, I will say after Jerry had thrown the bowling pin through the back window of it, and my dad come around the corner, you know, made it known he knows there's something going on. Jerry had us take that car, push it right behind the house, and he sat out there with the hood up, dismantling it, ripping pieces off of the car engine, totally making it so this car's never going to be used again, ran again, or anything. And he took those parts and he threw them off in the bushes behind that house where Jim Kaiser lives now. It's a downhill slot, and there's like this old chicken coop down there. And he's throwing those parts right down there. We don't even walk down there because it's a little marshy and stuff in that yard. And I know that that chicken coop goes with this here piece of property as a rental, or it's right out there abandoned behind the house, one of the two. But we don't go out there past this part of the yard. That there's just like an extra part of the yard, but right there, my brother was throwing all those parts of that blue Dodge Polara there, and that car ended up getting sent right out to Morton. Now, what tells me is, you know, when I'm sitting here thinking about this, that's why that car was on a jack. It was hijacked. It was hijacked. It had the left rear wheel was the one that was raised. It wasn't off the car. It was just hijacked. You know, and that's and that blue Dodge Polara, that's the same car that my mother was driving, and my dad was in the front seat as we were heading towards Mossy Rock, or Morton for Mossy Rock. And my dad just looked at me behind the seat, over across the seat to me, from the passenger side as my mother's driving. He says, "She's trying to kill me." You know, I mean, he made it goddamn office, and he just fucking goddamn looked right back at me. That guy was no more than a hostage in that car. My dad was no more than a hostage from Marietta, Kent, that was hiding behind a cop, Jerry Wright, that lives right there on the Middle Fork Road. And, you know, when somebody goes and puts pieces of the puzzle all together and they find out what the real truth is, like Marietta, you know, what got to me is when my mom passed away, Bonnie comes and, Mom's passed away. And Debbie's gonna need some money, you know, like this. I said, well, let's give her some money. $500. Well, let's get Debbie the money. You know why? I want them to go and have their goddamn wake, their little cute little feed themselves and have a nice little party. I guess without me, but I can pay for it. But I can pay for it, and I did pay for it. Matter of fact, Ernie Tobeck received the money from me because I told Bonnie I'll write out a check for Ernie, and Ernie can cash it, and you guys can give the money to Debbie. You know, I asked Ernie recently, I said, so what did you guys have for dinner? I'd kind of like to know if you guys had dinner and stuff. He says, I don't think they had it. So basically, there was money taken from me, given to somebody else, and then they didn't have a wake for it, you know. I wanted them all to sit down and eat together, and I wanted to remind them in the future how I paid for their food at my mother's funeral after everything they have done to me as a team, together working in concert. So here I am this morning, and I see a blue card. I see my friend's face after it's been shot with a 30-30 that Jerry Wright and his mother walked around the corner from coast to coast department store that was right uptown Morton. They walked right around the corner. They seen me on the corner. When their eyes opened, they seen me looking at them from the bowling alley at 208 Main Street, Morton, Washington. They walked right around the corner. They walked right into that greasy spoon right there. That thing now, it's painted brown. If you tell anybody, we'll bury you. And it's called the Rabbit Hole. And the Rabbit Hole's actually across the street in that bowling alley. And you go in that bowling alley, there's 4 lanes, and you just step across the lanes to the straightest way. Go over towards lane 1. There's a door right there, goes to the furnace room. There's a furnace to the left of that. There's a walkway that goes to the right where they bring the coal down, and there's a pile of coal there. They have a coal burner down there underneath of that Fairhart's department store and stuff. There might be more over there too, because another person that brought something to attention was my friend Jim King. And I came up and stayed at Jim King's house. I spent a month in a tool shed watching mice and stuff around me, living in there like a fucking what the fuck is going on. And I'll tell you, Jim King started telling me about that bowling alley. How there was 8 lanes in there. They took those 8 lanes out and they put them over there. And I thought, you're out of your fucking mind, Jim. There wasn't no 8 lanes in that bowling alley. There's 4 down there, and there's still 4 down in that bowling alley. There's still 4 lanes in that bowling alley. Last time I seen it, there was roof tiles and stuff that fell down on the lanes and stuff. I'd been in there once since it was closed. You know, it was a couple years after I went down there. My dad sent me down there. Apparently he had a key. And it's 14 minutes and you have a nice day. Morton Bowling Alley, 208 Main Street, Morton, Washington, underneath the Fairhart store. You know, I got these people that tells me they can make stuff disappear at 60 feet. That building department store is 60 feet by 60 feet. Just so you know, Morton, Washington, they could kill people right in that intersection and trigger an event with the Morton Loggers Jubilee. And you have a nice day. I thought it was going to be a Jim Jones massacre down there last summer, and now we've got a war in Hezbollah. So I was correct, and it did trigger the events in Morton, Washington, to Hezbollah in the Middle East. Thank you for your time, and good morning, America. My name's John Wright, and I'm here to serve America.